What if this was never just a playful moment on stage, but a fleeting glimpse into something far deeper, something even the members of BTS themselves didn't fully realize they were revealing? And if it truly was just a joke, why did it feel so real, so emotionally charged, as if it carried a meaning that went far beyond laughter and cheers? That night, the atmosphere was electric in a way that words can hardly capture. Under the dazzling lights and roaring crowd, the members of BTS seemed completely immersed in the moment, feeding off the energy of ARMY. Every movement, every glance, every spontaneous interaction felt alive. But then, in the middle of it all, something small happened, so brief it could have been missed, yet powerful enough to leave a lasting impression. It started with JUNGKOOK, the ever-energetic magne who never fails to turn the stage into his playground. With a mischievous sparkle in his eyes, he moved behind Minyoongi, clearly up to something. No one expected what would come next. A gesture that felt teasing yet undeniably affectionate. JUNGKOOK did something that instantly triggered a wave of reactions from the audience. His smile widened, confidence radiating from him, before he casually dropped a line that would echo far louder than anyone anticipated. "Suga Hyung won't scold me." Simple words, yet somehow they carried weight. Laughter erupted immediately. The crowd roared, ARMY cheering and reacting in disbelief and delight. But what truly transformed this into an unforgettable moment wasn't just JUNGKOOK's playful boldness, it was Minyoongi's response. Instead of annoyance or mock frustration, Minyoongi smiled, softly, warmly, in a way that felt different. There was no trace of irritation, only a quiet fondness that seemed to speak louder than any words could. And then came the response that shifted the entire mood. Rather than scolding him, he expressed something unexpected, something that sounded almost like a wish. He said he hoped JUNGKOOK would never change, that he would remain just as playful, just as full of life. Even when they were both 60 years old, in that instant, the laughter softened into something deeper. Was this still just fan service? Or was it a rare, unfiltered glimpse into how they truly see each other beyond the stage? Off to the side, TAEHYUNG had been watching. And this is where things became even more intriguing. His reaction wasn't loud or exaggerated, but it was noticeable. His eyes followed JUNGKOOK, his expression shifting ever so slightly, caught somewhere between amusement and something harder to define. Was it just amusement? Or was there something else hidden beneath that subtle change? For fans who are used to analyzing even the smallest details, that brief moment was enough to spark endless discussion. Because when it comes to the dynamics within BTS, nothing ever feels entirely linear. The relationship between JUNKOOK and Minyoongi has always carried a unique contrast, playful chaos meeting calm composure. And yet, that contrast is exactly what makes their bond so compelling. Meanwhile, the connection between TAEHYUNG and JUNKOOK has often been described as more emotional, more expressive, layered with a different kind of intensity that fans have long been drawn to. When these dynamics intersect in a single, unscripted moment, the result feels almost cinematic, raw, real, and impossible to ignore. But was it truly accidental? Behind the stage, the members of BTS have spent over a decade growing together. From grueling trainee days to global superstardom, they've built something far beyond a professional relationship. They became a family, and like any family, their bond is complex. It evolves, shifts, deepens. There are moments of closeness, moments of distance, and everything in between. But what keeps them grounded is an unspoken understanding, a willingness to accept each other as they are. When Minyoongi said he wanted JUNKOOK to stay the same even at 60, it didn't feel like a throwaway comment. It felt like a quiet acknowledgement of something precious, something he doesn't want time to take away. As for TAEHYUNG, his reaction remains open to interpretation. And perhaps that's what makes it so compelling. In a world where every move is scrutinized, sometimes what isn't said carries the most weight. ARMY didn't just see this as a funny interaction. They saw it as a fragment of a larger story, a story about friendship, growth, and bonds that continue to evolve under the spotlight. And maybe that's the true power of moments like this. Not the teasing, not the laughter, not even the reactions themselves, but the authenticity hidden within them. Because in an industry often defined by performance, moments like these feel different. They feel real. And that raises one final question. When they really do reach 60, just like Min Yoongi said, will moments like this still exist? Or will they become cherished memories, replayed over and over again by those who once witnessed them? There may never be a clear answer, but one thing is certain. That night, under the lights and the roar of thousands, a single fleeting interaction became something far greater than anyone expected. JUNGKOok, still riding the wave of laughter he had created, didn't immediately move away. There was a pause, brief but loaded. His expression softened for a fraction of a second, as if the words from Min Yoongi had landed somewhere deeper than he expected. The playful energy was still there, but now it was layered with something quieter, something almost reflective. Was that hesitation real? Or was it simply a trick of the lights, a projection of what fans wanted to see? The crowd didn't stop cheering, but within that noise, a different kind of attention began to form. Not the explosive kind, but the kind that leans in closer, that watches more carefully, that tries to understand what isn't being said. Because if there's one thing longtime followers of BTS have learned, it's this. The most meaningful moments are rarely the loudest ones. Across the stage, Kim Taehyung shifted his stance. Again, nothing exaggerated. No grand reaction, but his presence in that moment felt anchored. His gaze lingered just a second longer than expected, and though his lips curved into a faint smile, there was a complexity behind it that defied easy interpretation. Was it admiration? Amusement? Or something more layered? Something shaped by years of shared memories, unspoken understanding, and moments the public never gets to see. For a group that has spent over a decade under constant scrutiny, it's almost impossible to separate performance from authenticity. Every smile, every glance, every word is captured, replayed, analyzed. And yet, paradoxically, that's exactly what makes these fleeting, unscripted interactions feel so significant, because they don't try to be significant, they just happen, and sometimes that's where the truth slips through. Min Yoongi, known for his composed demeanor, rarely expresses affection in overt ways. His care often reveals itself in quieter gestures, subtle words, understated reactions, a presence that doesn't demand attention but holds it anyway. So when he chose to respond not with humor, but with a heartfelt wish for JUNKOok to remain unchanged, it carried a weight that extended far beyond the moment itself. IT wasn't just about who JUNKOok is now, IT was about everything he has been, and everything he might become. And perhaps, hidden within that statement, was an acknowledgement of time itself. Because time has always been both a gift and a threat to groups like BTS. It brings growth, evolution, maturity. But it also brings change, distance, and the inevitable question of how long things can stay the same. So when someone says, even jokingly, stay like this forever, is it really a joke? Or is it a quiet resistance against the reality that nothing ever truly stays the same? Meanwhile, JUNKOok seemed to bounce back into his usual self just moments later, rejoining the flow of the performance as if nothing unusual had happened. But for those who had caught that fleeting shift, the moment had already etched itself into memory. And still, even after the music swelled back to life and the choreography reclaimed its place at the center of attention, that moment refused to disappear. It clung to the air, to the memory, to the quiet spaces between movements where something unspoken seemed to echo louder than the performance itself. JUNKOok laughed again, brighter this time, as if instinctively pulling the atmosphere back into something lighter, safer, easier to digest. He ran across the stage, interacting with fans, throwing energy into every gesture the way he always does. To anyone watching casually, it might have looked like the moment had passed completely. Or was it simply buried beneath the surface, continuing to exist in the glances that followed, in the pauses too quick to fully register, in the subtle awareness that something meaningful had just unfolded. Min Yoongi returned to his usual composure, the calm center amid the chaos. Yet there was a softness lingering around him, almost like a trace that hadn't quite faded. His words, simple, almost offhand, continued to ripple outward, not just through the crowd, but through the interpretation of every fan who heard them. Somewhere on that stage, under the same lights but perhaps in a slightly different emotional space, Kim Taehyung continued to exist within the moment in his own way. He joined the performance seamlessly, his expressions once again aligning with the rhythm, the concept, the expectation. But for those who had noticed earlier, there was still a lingering curiosity. Who saw in that brief exchange a glimpse of something rarely articulated, the quiet ways people care for each other, the unspoken agreements, the comfort of knowing exactly how far you can go before crossing a line, and knowing that even if you did, you would still be accepted. JUNGKOOK embodied that freedom in its purest form. His confidence in that moment wasn't just about entertaining the crowd. It was rooted in something deeper. The certainty that the person he was teasing would understand, would accept, would respond not with rejection, but with warmth. The possibility that even in a world built on performance, there are still fragments of authenticity that break through, unfiltered and undeniable. As the concert moved toward its final stages, the energy shifted once more, toward gratitude, toward reflection, toward the kind of emotional closure that only comes at the end of a shared experience. The members spoke, laughed, thanked the fans, promised to return. And just when it seemed like the night had already given everything it could possibly offer, there was one final layer. Quiet, almost invisible, but perhaps the most powerful of all, that began to settle in the minds of those who refused to look away, because long after the stage lights dimmed and the echoes of the crowd faded into memory, that single interaction continued to live on not just as a clip,